It was supposed to be a mistake, just a misunderstanding. But somehow, I found myself sitting across from the man who would turn my world upside down yet again. My heart was already in turmoil, but little did I know that this contract, which I never intended to sign, would seal my fate. When the email arrived, I was knee-deep in work, the endless grind of trying to save my small coffee shop, the one I poured my heart and soul into. The last thing I expected was a legal contract from some unknown company asking me to share my space with a photographer. It was ridiculous, but the attached terms were clear. No backing out. There was no escaping the agreement. The moment he walked in, with that easy smile and disarming presence, I knew things had just gone from bad to worse. I hadn't even had the chance to tell him about the contract. No. Instead, his eyes were all I could focus on. He was tall, with tousled hair and a smile that made my knees weak. The kind of person who could make you forget your name with just one look. "Hey, you're the owner, right?" His voice was warm, the kind that made you want to lean in and never let go. "Yeah, that's me," I managed, swallowing the dry lump in my throat. "I guess we're going to be working together for a while." "Seems like it," he grinned, setting his camera bag down on the counter. He pulled out his camera, all while eyeing the place like he was already at home. The contract was a disaster. My shop, my sanctuary, was now a workspace for a photographer, someone who looked like he belonged in a glossy magazine, not in a crammed little cafe in the heart of the city. Yet, as the hours passed, I found myself reluctantly drawn to him. We were opposites in almost every way, but there was something magnetic about him. He'd laugh at my terrible jokes, compliment the art on the walls, and every time our hands brushed as we reached for the same cup, it was like a spark, lighting a fire I tried to suppress. But it wasn't just the physical attraction that had me tangled up in knots. It was his gentleness, the way he seemed to understand everything I never said aloud. There was a sadness in his eyes, an unspoken past that mirrored my own, a silent bond that neither of us acknowledged, yet both could feel. The first time we worked together, I felt like an idiot. He'd set up his camera, taking photos of the shop from every angle, capturing moments that, until then, had seemed insignificant to me. He took his time, carefully adjusting the lighting, and I watched in awe. It was like he saw things I didn't, things I was too caught up in to notice. "So, tell me," he asked one afternoon, his voice soft as he focused his camera on a cup of coffee. "What made you open a coffee shop?" I hesitated. No one had ever asked me that before. I was always too busy with the day-to-day to reflect on it. I guess I just wanted a place that felt like home, somewhere people could relax, forget their worries for a bit. "That's beautiful," he said, looking up from his camera for the first time in what felt like hours. His eyes held mine for a beat longer than necessary, making me wonder if I just said something ridiculous. Maybe it was the way he looked at me. Maybe it was the warmth in his voice, but I felt a flutter in my chest, a gentle stirring that told me something I wasn't ready to face. Something more than just a simple connection. But that didn't matter, did it? He was just another stranger in a world full of them, right? As the days went by, we fell into a routine. He would arrive every morning, usually with a cup of coffee in hand for both of us. We'd work side by side, exchanging little jokes and glances that seemed to linger a bit too long. And every time he smiled at me, I couldn't help but smile back. But I kept reminding myself this was just business. Nothing more. The truth was, I was terrified of what he was making me feel. His presence was intoxicating, pulling me closer even though I tried to keep my distance. Each laugh, each fleeting touch, made my heart race in ways I hadn't experienced in years. He made me feel seen, really seen, like the walls I had built up around myself were coming down piece by piece. But as much as I wanted to let him in, there was a voice in the back of my mind telling me to keep my distance. One evening, as the sun set and the golden light filtered through the windows, he looked at me, his face softer than I'd ever seen it. "I'm not just here to take pictures," he said, his tone serious, almost vulnerable. "I don't know if I can explain it, but there's something about this place, and about you, that's different." I opened my mouth, but no words came. Instead, I watched him, feeling that familiar pull deep within me. This wasn't just about the coffee shop anymore. It was about something else, something I wasn't ready to admit to myself, let alone to him. And yet, I couldn't shake the thought that maybe this mistake, the contract, the forced arrangement wasn't a mistake at all. Maybe it was the universe's way of showing me something I was too afraid to see. I didn't know where this was going, or what would happen next, but for the first time in a long time, I felt something shift inside me, and I didn't want it to stop. I wasn't sure what was scarier, the growing feelings I had for him or the idea that I might push him away before I could truly understand what was happening between us. Every time our eyes met, it was as if the world around us faded. The coffee shop, which once felt like my fortress, now seemed like the place where I was most vulnerable. And yet, I couldn't tear myself away from him. One afternoon, the air was thick with tension. We had just finished closing the shop, the two of us alone in the dimly lit space. He had been taking pictures of the last few customers. But now, the only thing left in the shop was silence, thick and suffocating. I was wiping down the counter when he walked up to me, his footsteps heavy, but purposeful. "I have a question for you," he said, his voice low. His eyes held mine, not the casual gaze from earlier, but something deeper, something more intimate. I stopped what I was doing, my heart skipping a beat. "What is it? Do you ever think about us? Outside of this place?" he asked, his words lingering in the air. "I mean, not just the shop. Us together." His question hit me like a wave, knocking the breath out of my chest. For a moment, I stood frozen, unsure how to answer. What was I supposed to say? The truth felt too raw, too exposed. But somehow, I knew that the longer I stayed silent, the harder it would become to face what was happening. I don't know," I stammered, my voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't expect any of this." "I didn't either," he admitted with a soft laugh, but there was a trace of sadness in his eyes. "But you know what? I don't mind. I didn't think I'd end up here with you. But now, it feels like the most natural thing in the world." I swallowed hard. The words were there, hovering just on the edge of my consciousness. "I think about you," I said finally, the confession escaping before I could stop it. "I think about you a lot, actually." The moment the words left my mouth, the tension between us shifted. It was as if the air itself had cracked open, releasing something we both had been holding back. His face softened, and before I knew it, he was standing right in front of me, just inches away. I could feel the heat of his body, the thrum of electricity that pulsed between us. "I'm not sure what happens next," he said, his voice trembling slightly, "but I want to find out with you. I know this is complicated, but I can't pretend I don't feel something, and I'm pretty sure you feel it too." I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I took a deep breath, trying to calm the whirlwind inside me. But there was no denying it. He was right. I had felt it too, the pull, the connection, the longing that had been growing inside me. Only now I had no choice but to acknowledge it. Maybe we can take this slow," I suggested, my voice shaking with uncertainty. "I don't know what this is, but I don't want to screw it up." He smiled then, the warmth in his expression easing some of the tension. "I can handle slow," he said, his thumb gently brushing against my hand. "As long as we're honest with each other." And that was all I needed to hear. We stood there for what felt like an eternity, just looking at each other, until the quiet of the shop seemed to fade completely into the background. I felt the weight of his hand on mine, a soft, reassuring pressure that told me everything would be okay. For the first time in ages, I allowed myself to believe in something that was completely out of my control, something beautiful and terrifying and full of promise. As the days passed, we fell into a rhythm. The awkwardness faded, replaced with something more comfortable, something warmer. We spent more time together, both inside and outside the coffee shop. He began showing me his photography, the way he captured moments that most people would miss. I saw him in a new light, not just the charming photographer, but a person with depth, with dreams, with a past that made him who he was. Slowly, he let me in piece by piece, and I did the same. I shared my fears, my hopes, the reasons why I'd put walls up around my heart for so long. He listened without judgment, never pushing me further than I was ready to go. There was a quiet understanding between us, a bond that felt like it had always been there, waiting to be discovered. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the coffee shop in a soft, golden light, he looked at me with a tenderness that took my breath away. "I know we're still figuring this out," he said softly, "but I want you to know that no matter what happens, I'm glad I'm here with you." My heart swelled in my chest. The doubts that had lingered in the back of my mind, the fears that had held me back from truly opening up, all seemed so small in that moment. I didn't need to know what the future held. All I needed was to be here with him. "I feel the same way," I whispered, my voice thick with emotion. "I'm glad you're here too." And just like that, something shifted between us, something permanent, something that could never be undone. The journey had only just begun, but for the first time in a long while, I felt like I was exactly where I was meant to be beside him. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.